Hi, and welcome back to the Self-Financing School. This channel is about building a school model designed to generate prosperous and autonomous educational institutions and their engaged communities. I'm Frank Ortiz, and today I'm going to introduce two distinct pedagogical strategies that generate self-directed learning environments, as well as some supportive modalities for both those strategies. At the core of the school model lies Bloom's taxonomy, which represents, in my opinion, the apex for how we can assess one's mastery for any given skills, concepts, or sets of both. And it does this by linking higher levels of cognitive activity and/or actions with greater degrees of skill and concept mastery. In my work, I invert this linkage by putting learners in circumstances that require undertaking high-level actions, which, in my experience, leads to higher levels of mastery. Now, historically, my primary challenges that I've overcome have been to seed learners with example ways for accomplishing those actions, as well as having them believe that they can perform those actions in the first place. To help them achieve this, I introduce my learners to the iterative process, where they get to practice the following steps: plan, perform, review, and revise before repeating the process again. Self-directed learning pedagogies, where students self-differentiate while meeting state and federal standards. How exactly can we do this? Well, I came across two distinct pedagogies that led me on a path towards leading self-directed learning environments. One of them was a flipped classroom. Now, in this environment, which I've used as a college professor, I basically had my students teach the material to their peers. I organized them in groups. I gave each of the groups a portion of the course and a structure with which they followed. And that structure also incorporated the different parts of Bloom's taxonomy. Um, so each individual student had to summarize a part of what the text provided, find independent research that tied into it, and then did an analysis relating what they're talking about, how what they brought tied in, and what underlying messages we should take from that. So I've also gone ahead and used the layered curriculum. In fact, that was my entry point into becoming um, an advocate for self-directed learning. And the example that I used was something called the layered curriculum. And this is something that was created decades ago by a educator out of Utah by named Kathy Nunley. And her website, if you're interested in it, is www.brains.org. And there's a lot of free materials that I went and used that you can as well at that website that allows you, if you're really serious about converting from a teacher-centered to a student-centered self-directed learning environment, it's a great resource. So, I mean, my first time I got to see it in practice, I didn't even know it existed. Um, and I thought that this system that I didn't understand, that I didn't know where it came from, was incredibly ingenious, and I spent the next several years on my own trying to reinvent the thing. Whereas had I known about this resource, it probably would have changed the course of my teaching career. So those are the two pedagogical strategies, and then we go on to modalities. Now, modalities that can help with both of those strategies. The first one is cooperative and collaborative problem solving. There's a difference between the two. Cooperative refers to the fact that everyone is more or less teaming up by taking on different pieces of a puzzle. And then each person takes on that piece and brings all those separate pieces together. And from that, you get the whole of how you solve a given problem or challenge. Collaborative means everyone is more or less kind of doing the same thing, but they're helping each other along the way. An example of that was when I got a chance to see mathematics construction, where groups of students in four were each teaching each other, or rather problem solving, through vocabulary and techniques. Um, and I will say, as someone who got to see those math students come into my physics classroom, the depth of mathematical reason they used to explain physics concepts was something I hadn't seen before, and I have not seen since. Then there's peer mentoring, where to help someone understand something you've understood already represents as close to as high level Bloom's taxonomy as it gets. Oftentimes, the best way to learn something is to try and teach it to someone else. And oftentimes that involves redefining your understanding into someone else's vocabulary. Then there's running separate concurrent homeschool and charter programs. This is one that I came up with for the purposes of the school model, where if you wanted to utilize state funding, you can have a charter program that incorporates maybe flipped classroom, maybe layered curriculum, but at the same time allow for the school's resources and facilities to be available for parents that aren't fully committed to sending their child the whole day, but can use something that will assist them in their homeschooling efforts. And then lastly, curriculum-based experiential learning is all about utilizing in real context what you've learned in the classroom. So this is where from going from remember and knowledge, you get to go towards application and utilization and understanding what's present, what's missing, and how to fill what's missing, which is in essence higher level Bloom's taxonomy thinking.